27 of Dissent Into The Wormhole, where we discuss everything from ancient civilization to modern day social issues and everything in between. I'm Les.
And I'm Stevie J. And today we're going to talk about the divorce machine keeping us in misery. And I feel like we both had some experience with this one. And it's interesting, the statistics on this, which we'll get into as well. But it's so true. It's so true. The divorce court system is literally a machine, and it just keeps churning people through. How are you today?
Yeah. I'm fantastic. I'm fantastic. How are you way down there?
Oh, down here is good. It's a little humid today, but it is good. No complaints. So
good. I like to hear that because it is freezing up here.
Yes, I didn't want to mention it just because it's like, don't mention the war. It's a touchy subject. But yeah, looking forward to this episode as well, as usual. But we often talk on this channel about, incentives. Let's look for the incentive. Why do things happen? Why are certain things in motion and continue to be in motion? And I feel like money's so often the answer, like probably 99 times out of 100. So it seems no different with divorce.
It really is. It really is. And unfortunately, divorce is going up. It really is, especially during the pandemic. Divorces went through the roof, and that makes sense because finally everyone had time to stop because they had no choice to stop, and they're like, hold up, like, who is this person that I'm married to? Because they've been go for so many years, maybe 10, 20 years. They've been go, the kids and the work and the this and the house and that.
Yeah. But
they've never really had a chance to really stop and take a good look at what's going on. They're like, no.
Yeah.
No, this can't happen. So it's really gone up. So the lawyers have been extremely busy this time of year. But it's very far and few between. I only have one person that I know in my life that had a good, I'm going to call it a good divorce.
Okay.
It was smooth. They still use lawyers. They still use lawyers, but they both agreed that they were going to be kind to each other. They both agreed that whatever's in the best interest of them both financially and first and foremost, their child. Like it was one of those, like, we want to make sure that everyone is okay at the end of this, because if one of us isn't okay, then the child suffers if one of us isn't okay.
Right.
So it was the only one.
And that sounds so good. Like if only, look, there's so many levels to this, but you're so right as well. Like people are spending all that time now together, where before pandemic times, there was distractions, there was this, there was the other thing, there was, going out with friends, there was all of these other things happening. You weren't spending that close time with the person at home in the one place, one-on-one, exactly. And so, and the other thing too is I feel like when we get stressed, because there was a lot of stress going on too in the pandemic, it becomes harder to do what the majority, I feel, of people do in their lives, which is be somebody else or try to be somebody else. And it becomes harder under stressful situations to do that because our true selves come out, whether we like it or not. And same of the other person. And it's not necessarily putting blame on any person in that situation, like either party, but when the true people come out, maybe they're not compatible. And before it could be masked with those other things that were happening and the distractions, and they're not actually spending the time together. But once, once that time has to be spent together and the stress is there and the true colors come out, maybe people just aren't compatible. And then, it turns into, more often than not, sadly, unlike, your friend you mentioned, it turns into an ugly, ugly divorce as well.
Yeah. And I don't think all lawyers are scummy. I honestly do not. It can't be possible that all of them are horrible people just looking to poke the bear and get some money. That's an impossible feat.
Yeah.
But they just don't get a good rap. And I do feel like a lot of the time that they're the ones stoking the fire of of issues between the two parties.
Yep, absolutely agree. And often what happens is, you're right, like, not all lawyers are scummy. They all get paid a hell of a lot of money, but not all of them are scummy like that, you know, and some of them will actually try and help, like actually try and help and try and avoid more costs. But sadly, it only takes one party out of the two parties to have a lawyer who's not, you know, honest and not trying to do good by you and try and treat you well, to force that on both parties. Because if one attorney says to their client, you need to do this and you should do this and you should go after everything and you should go after the world, and then that causes a disagreement, well, then all of a sudden you find yourself in court where you don't need to be. And the one party who didn't want that has to do it anyway because it's being forced through a court system. So it doesn't benefit either party at all, but just takes one lawyer to cause all of those problems. And I would imagine a lot of the time it's poking the bear for money. Like, let's see what we can get happening here. So we have to draft up more documents. We have to do more meetings. We have to have court appearances or whatever. And we get paid handsomely for all of that shit. So, yeah.
And I don't find that it's obviously not a fast system, because you, for whatever reason, and this is what I don't understand, and we've discussed this, you can get married in a heartbeat. We could go to Vegas tomorrow. Get hit.
Elvis, do it. Come on.
Yeah, we're ready. We're ready. But if we wanted to get divorced, if we wanted to annul it because like, it was just jokes. It was just jokes. Kind of like a Britney Spears situation, but we don't have her lawyers.
Yeah.
So let's just say we rushed into something and we got married too soon. And next thing you know, it's a year later and you're like, I really need out of this. Like, I really need out of this. It will take you longer to get divorced than it did for you to date and actually get married. Like, you'll be in the divorce process longer than you actually were in a relationship with that human being. And to me, that's a problem. That is a problem. It should not take forever. And for some people, you know, there's custody that needs to be sorted out with the children. And unfortunately, if you have a high conflict, one of the parents could be trying to keep the children away. And because it isn't a quick process, and because there are no real laws, there are certain states and provinces in different countries that have different laws. But for a lot of people that I talk to, they've been kept away from their children just because they can't get in front of a judge and their lawyers can't figure it out. And that one parent seems to have all the control. Like the laws are really archaic when it comes to divorce, and the laws are really archaic when it comes to marriage, because apparently it's not a real relationship unless you're married.
Right. Absolutely. And it's in the realm of ridiculous on a on a huge level, because you're so right. The government's super happy for everybody to rush into a relationship. Doesn't matter what that relationship is. They don't ask you before you get married, is this an abusive relationship that you're in before you sign these papers, before you say these words? They don't care. Just rush in.
Are you sure?
Yeah, exactly. Are you sure? Should you be doing this? Like, is this the person really for you? And on the other side of it, like you said, it takes forever. Like, I want out. Let me out. I just want to go. But they're like, no, sorry. You legally have to wait 12 months. In our country anyway, at least you legally.
And here too.
You legally have to wait 12 months. And then that's just 12 months to file. And then it could take another few months for it to actually be processed. So, you know, at all of this time, you want to get out. And like you said, you actually, and what that does too is it stops you from getting into a relationship with anybody else. Now, I say that in a legal sense. It also stops you
from healing. Like, if there's any healing that needs to be done, because obviously not obviously, but in my own humble opinion, I think we should be, after every relationship, we should be taking stock of where we're at, maybe things we need to work on. What did we learn from that relationship? What good can we take away from it? All of those things before we go into a next one. We can't do that because we're still dealing with the last one.
Yeah.
The healing process just takes longer. and
Yeah.
longer and longer. And that's why second and third divorces are, higher. The percentages are higher for second and third marriages because you've been so long in that divorce machine and so long in that emotional upset that you just want to get on with your life. And that next person may not be the healthiest for you.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's really, it's so true, but it's so backwards. Because they put all these roadblocks on the back end, like trying to get out of a divorce, which is essentially saying that you don't know that you're unhappy. You should stay there because you should be happy. You're married. You should be happy. You should stay there.
Yeah.
But really, the reality is no. And in
Not even close.
Not even close. And this brings us to, how the hell does the government know best than we do? Like, we're the ones in these relationships. We're the ones who know what's going on. So A, who are they to tell us that, no, you can't get out of that relationship? And B, who are they to say what relationship is official based on a piece of paper? Like, oh, you've got a marriage certificate? Oh, well, you're 100%, your relationship must be 100% fine, perfect, and committed. It's all good. But reality says, no, it's not.
No. But for people who, there's some people out there who just won't get married and they've been together for 20, 30 years and they are solid. Yeah. They are solid couples. They're loving, they're respectful, they grow together, they encourage each other. And people would just say, oh, is just your boyfriend or is just your girlfriend? It's like, you just kind of dismantled what they have in your, like, just because there's no ring. Like, I feel like we've discussed this before, how a lot of people, like, that's their goals. Like, it doesn't matter who the guy is as long as the ring is on the finger.
Yeah.
Like, I think we got it backwards. I think we should be worried about who's standing beside us instead of what jewelry we're wearing.
Yeah. Like, who's standing behind us and how we feel beside that person. Like, who gives a crap about the document? Like, and I'm not downplaying anybody who loves all of the rigmarole of marriage. Go for your life.
Go have it.
Enjoy it.
Yeah.
But what makes a relationship official? It's not a piece of paper. Like, the piece of paper does nothing. It just sits there on the mantelpiece or in the drawer or wherever you put it. And I was thinking about this the other day. The olden days, thinking sort of medieval times even.
All right.
They would stand in a field somewhere and say, "We're now married." Like, there was no certificate or whatever. It was just an agreement between two people. Yeah, we should be together, so we're together.
The marriage, the legalese of the marriages became when it was for royalty, and it was to keep property and money within families. That was the reason for marriage, was to keep the money where it was supposed to be and all the land. That's the only reason we have marriage, because I know in the Bible, like, there are words of, the wife and the husband and the this and the that, but there was no actual legalese marriage. So a lot of people are like, well, we didn't invent marriage, but we did. Because God didn't say, well, you're going to have to sign 5,000 pieces of paper. And let me tell you, you're not getting out of it. Yeah. You're not getting out of it. He didn't say that. That's for sure. Or you're going to have to pay $50,000 to get out of it.
I'm pretty sure God wasn't sitting there saying, we're definitely going to have to get a dude with a wig on and in a big black robe to decide whether you're allowed out of your marriage.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that was never said.
Yeah.
And that's for the religious people who, that's their belief system. But I mean, just in a general sense, like, it's all meaningless. And again, all, like you said, it's all about money, like, and the property stuff. Like,
well, because what are we fighting for when we go through a divorce? We're fighting for stuff. That's the only thing. The lawyers are fighting over who gets what. It's like, well, that sounds awfully familiar for what the original reason for the marriage was.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. We're fighting over stuff.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, actually, like, about the royal families and stuff, because back in those days, remember as well, there was a whole thing of, like, especially for women, like, marry into this family, marry into
Yes.
this noble family. Fucking
Yeah.
noble. Who the fuck's noble?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
marry into this noble family and you'll be set for life.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like that's still, you know, in a different
That's
context
still a
today,
thing.
but it's definitely still a thing. And we've talked about that, like on other episodes
Yeah.
about, you know, trying to get the things and the stuff and the things. But like,
Yeah. This triple sixes.
triple sixes. But yeah, like that, it started back then. Girls,
Yeah.
you need to do this and do that, and you need to marry into a good family. And it's not just
Yeah.
Western culture either. Like, you know, in Eastern cultures too, like China had the same thing, you know, Japan as well, same stuff. Like you had to fulfill a certain role as a woman, and a massive part of that role was all preparing and leading up to being married
Yeah.
into some other family, and the goal was make it a rich, noble family.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of women were raised just to be a wife.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shame.
It is a shame, and I'd love to know when that happened.
That's a really good question. I'd love to know when that happened too.
Because let's be honest, we know nothing really about, like, say, ancient civilizations and
Yeah.
relationships. So
I think it was the Bible that started that.
I got a
That
feeling
the man was the head of was the
Yes.
boss, and the wife had to.
Yep.
I think that's where it started, but before that, because there was life before that,
Yes.
and there were relationships before that,
Mm-hmm.
marriages. So yeah, how did they function? We should look into that. We should look into how
We
ancient
should.
marriages and relationships functioned and what the functionality was.
And also the Egyptians, like they had, you know, Isis was a female god as well, or goddess.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it was very, very much more an even situation back then.
I agree.
Or an equal situation, because they had equal power. But when the Bible came along as we know it, it turned very much to, you know, men are the wielders of power and women are not. So, you know, that's had a big influence. But we should definitely look into that more, because it's really interesting to think about that. And I had an image of the Amazons pop into my head when I was talking about women, you know, because there were a group of women who were powerful and they were warriors and, you know, all of those things, and took care of themselves. And so not just the Amazonians, but there was an Aztec culture, I believe. I may be wrong, but there was an Aztec culture or a South American culture, I believe, that the men were very much, you know, the aggressors and, of course, the warriors and things like that. However, they would not act. They would not do anything without checking with a council of women first if what they were going to do was going to impact the tribe long term. So they were the warriors, they were, you know, the strong ones and the da-da-da, but they weren't necessarily in charge, because everything they did, they had to run past the female council first to try and get some of that more calm guidance from them.
Interesting. Yeah, because they do say that women think calm. They're calmer thinkers in times of heightened stress.
Right.
I don't know how true that is. I don't know, but that's what they say, whoever they are.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering, like, when we think about the different dynamics and how the dynamics have shifted and grown throughout the years and the centuries and the decades and all that. So when you look at the divorce system, when you look at the marriage system, women are, for a lot of people, they are raised to marry into and then take care of their family. They get married, they have kids, they take care of their family. The divorce system is actually geared, so I perceive, but it wasn't my experience. It is geared to give the women everything and the men nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like the man could be living in a tent ordered to pay $10,000 a month in support, but he can't support himself.
Yes.
And the courts don't care. Like, it's very archaic. And I always thought that this was really, really odd, because especially seeing that a lot of my clients are men who are going through horrible divorces and,
Yeah.
being alienated from their children, and they're just not getting anywhere. I'm going to go out on a limb on this one and say that all of these laws were built by men.
Mm-hmm.
Why would they design a system to fuck themselves over?
Wow, that's a fucking great question. I feel like that's actually a question that's hard to answer. Like, it's a really hard to answer. You're so right. Fuck. I wonder, is it attached to the old sort of, oath of chivalry type thing? Like they thought that by setting this up, they were taking care of the women, looking after the women.
Maybe it was different times. It was different times. People weren't getting married to screw each other over.
Right.
And divorce wasn't a thing. Like divorce just wasn't something that you did. If you weren't happy in your marriage, well.
Oh, another thought though, with money being the incentive. Okay. And this not being the case in every case, but
right.
in general and historically, men have been the bigger earners in
right.
the family situation. So if there's a split and, somebody needs to be paying somebody, the courts and lawyers and, the divorce machine that's in between all of this, are they more likely to get more money if they put all of this onto the monetary stuff onto the man? Is that why they did it? To make more money? Or they thought we can get more money?
Yep, because the man's got the money.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, isn't there a judge that you investigated that somewhere they're in the States. We know exactly where they are. We know exactly who they are. And she is known for sanctioning the person with the most money.
Oh, yeah.
At all costs.
Yeah.
Like she'll make things up.
Yes.
To sanction the person with the most money. So it's not always necessarily the man.
Yeah, exactly.
It could definitely be the woman.
Yep, good point. Because I've interviewed people who've had an experience with that judge, both men and women. And sometimes the women are screwed over by her because, it's about the money. And, off the top of my head, I can't remember what title it was, but there's a government regulation or title that allows the court to be given a certain amount of money, depending on how much money they bring in from the divorce settlement and the divorce arrangements. So if, for example, the husband or the wife, whoever it is, whoever's got the most money is who they'll choose. But depending on who that is, let's just say it's the husband. The husband's earns more money and has said, okay, you need to pay the ex-wife $3,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Then what happens is under that title, the court gets that same amount of money from the government. So, and of course, then the court becomes successful, rich. The judge in charge of that court looks really fantastic, looks great, and could become a Supreme Court judge at some point. Like it's such a corrupt system. It is such a corrupt system, but you absolutely nailed it. And I forgot that I'd had those conversations and about that judge, but they picked the richest person because they have a benefit. They can get a benefit from it. Mm-hmm. So,
and they'll do whatever it takes to make that person pay, whether they can pay or not.
Yes.
Whether they can sustain that lifestyle or not. The judges don't care. And I think that's another problem too, is that the lawyers don't think long term.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you get divorced and you've got a kid and say who like the father has to pay, I don't know, $2,000 a month for the next 10 years. What if that changes? Like, and I know some people have actually tried to put in the clause that they don't care. They're like, well, I don't care if that changes or not. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you lose your job. You still got to pay that $2,000. It's like, well, wait a second. How is that possible? If they lose their job, not on their own accord, because everything is on shaky ground right now. Anything could crumble at any time. We don't know where we're going to be.
Yeah.
So why on earth would you sit there and put a clause in? Why would the lawyers agree to put a clause in that says, I don't care what you have to do, You get behind a dumpster and you do naughty things. I don't care what you need to do, but you're going to pay me my $2,000. And I don't care if you're living in a garbage bag
Yeah.
on the side of a street. I don't care. I want my money. Like, this is the problem that I have with the lawyers, is that the compassion and the empathy just aren't there.
Yeah.
They just don't care. It's like they've taken on this. It's like they've morphed into the relationship. And it's almost like, I feel some of them, their egos like their egos do get involved and they just need to win. But other ones, it's almost like it's their relationship and they're being hurt by it somehow.
Yeah. Well, they're maybe being vindictive because of, like, they associate it with what happened to them or whatever, like something like that. They bring in their own stuff to it and then, really affect people's lives. But you're so right. Like, and that's why it's a divorce machine, because they don't see people as people. They see people as paychecks and money and all of these things. And that's one of the biggest things with, the court systems and judges and these lawyers, is they really don't care. Like, they actually just don't care, most of them, because they'll create all these orders and make all these decisions that really don't factor in human issues. Like, they're not caring about the humans involved. It's just, yep, another one's coming in. Yep, another one's going out. Another one's coming in. Another one's going out. Yep. And I am a Poindexter. So, if you do the math on that whole, doesn't matter if you've got a job or no job, you have to pay the same amount. That's not going to work. Like that. No, you can't just, sadly, pull money out of your ass from nowhere and hand it over.
Nice to be able to do, though. Would that be a talent?
Well, maybe you can if you're doing it behind a dumpster. Like, that might, the dumpster job might actually work for that. But
that might actually be profitable.
But, like, it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. The best thing to do would be to set everything up so that it's sustainable over whatever the period of time is that it needs to be. And then everybody's okay. Like, both sides, kids, everyone's okay. Yeah. And you're not finding yourself back in court again.
Well, or in jail, because I've heard horror stories of people, because our friend who's got another channel, he has a lot of people call in and with these kind of things. And he's had a lot of people say, like, I went to jail because, like, I lost my job. It wasn't on my own accord. Like, I legitimately lost my job and I couldn't find another one. And so I couldn't pay my child support. So they put me in jail. Well, guess who can't find a job now because they've been to jail? Like, the system just doesn't make sense. And it's like the people at the top just don't have any logic. No. Like, why are they not seeing how this is just a problem? Because now not only is the mother not getting the money that she was, kind of relying on to take care of her child, now the child doesn't have a father. Right. Because the father's in jail. And he can't get a job. So it's just going to be this repetitive cycle, all because he lost his job. And the court said, bitch, you got to pay.
Yeah. Yep. For sure.
And there's going to be sanctions on top of that because he can't pay. So there's going to be more tacked on top of it. Yep. It will be a never ending cycle to the point that, and it's not just men, this happens to women too, but it's mostly for the men. This is a huge male centered problem. Like, what if they just say, you know what, I can't do this, I'm out. Out.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
screw you,
because I was going to bring that up next, and that whole mental health issue as well. Yeah. But what it also got me thinking about was, with this whole cycle, with all of this, the government gets involved in so many things, and the legal system gets involved in so many things where they really shouldn't. Now,
no, it's not their business.
Someone might want to crucify me for saying this, but leave the courts out of divorce, right? Leave them out of divorces, leave them out of relationships, okay? Yeah. Now, before I get crucified on that, let me just say this. That would then put the responsibility and more responsibility on people before they get into relationships. Because if there's no fail-safe at the other side, where some judge is going to say, oh, yeah, well, you get $5,000 a month for the next 20 years. If that doesn't exist, then people getting into those relationships are going to be more careful, more cautious, and more wary of all of those things. And so it's not nice that would happen, maybe, because there are pricks out there who would just, not want to support the family if there's a split up. And like, those people exist. But that's why I draw it back to the initial part of getting into a relationship. And if there's those potential consequences at the end, that you may end up with a prick who doesn't want to pay and stuff like that, well, then that brings back the responsibility on both people in the beginning to make sure that you're with the right person and you're in the right relationship and you don't rush into anything. Because I feel like marriage today, seriously, it's just like, and relationships, not even just marriage, but relationships is just like...
Very flippant.
Yes. Yeah, there's not a lot of meaning put on it. And that's something, I don't necessarily agree with a lot from the old days, but there's something to be said about the old days. And there were relationships back then that when you were in that relationship, that was it. There's nobody else. There's nobody else after that. And I'm not saying that that's how it should be today, because I feel like people should follow their instincts and follow how they feel. So I'm not adding that archaic part of history, but today it's just like, oh yeah, you go to Vegas, see Elvis, get married,
Yeah.
It's almost meaningless. Yet there's all these negative things that can be on the other side if you want to get out.
Yeah, I wish someone sat me down and said, these are the consequences. These are the potential consequences. Like, are you ready? Because I went in very naive. And I remember, I know I should have spoken up, and I just felt I couldn't. I wasn't strong enough within myself to speak up. No one ever taught me to be, just no one ever, because we're not taught that stuff. So anyway, I'm not blaming other people. I'm just saying I wasn't strong enough to speak up.
Yeah.
But I went into it and I'm like, well, I can get out of this. Like, it's okay. I can get out of this. But I didn't realize how much it was going to affect me. If I knew it was going to affect my health, my finances, my absolutely everything. But at the same time, I also wouldn't change it for anything, because it brought me to where I am today. Like, if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be where I am. And so there's that. So I don't know, our experiences shape us, and our experiences are our journey.
Yeah.
And part of the fabric that is us. But I still wish someone would have said, hey,
well,
these are like, behind door number 1 is this hot mess. And behind door number 2 is, he's going to be pissed and because you're not marrying him, but you're much better off. Like, the pain now is going to be much less than the pain later.
Yeah.
And the pain now is what I was worried about.
Well, right. And look, when you talk about, getting that guidance, that's what I think was lacking, for me, was the guidance. Like, I had nobody to say to me, not necessarily you should or shouldn't or whatever.
Right.
But, there's door number 1 and door number 2, like what you said, but there's also door number 3. Like, you can go through your life. You don't have to commit to, you don't have to commit to all this stuff, and, trust yourself. You may find somebody who truly is compatible with you. And, I agree with you though. My experience is very similar in the sense that I felt like I couldn't speak up either. Looking back now, I had those feelings inside, like this isn't right or something's not right. Or, I don't feel good, but I'm going to do it anyway. But I didn't have that. That guidance or that process to go through of checking. But much the same to you, as you, it's all been experiences and stepping stones that's brought me right here. And I feel like I'm happier than ever now. So
that's good.
Yeah. But it's just an interesting thing to look at. And that's why we do these podcasts, is to just talk about this stuff and what the impacts are, where it all comes from, and what, how it affects people, I
was just thinking, because, we both walked into it thinking, like, we shouldn't be doing this, but like, the society at large pushes marriage and children on us. It pushes, but that's all it does. It pushes the fairy tale of the Prince Charming or the Cinderella or whomever you're looking for, whatever.
Yeah.
But they don't sit down and say, okay, this is how it could be. But this is how it could be.
Yeah.
Like, it's a choose your own adventure for sure. But don't just I think a lot of people, like, they just think, okay, well, I just need the big wedding. And then it's almost like they jump off the cliff after that because nothing else happens. Like, they need to do a fairy tale of actually what happens to Cinderella after the wedding.
Yes.
What happens?
Mm-hmm.
And have Cinderella go through a divorce. Because you know what? 90% of the children have divorced parents anyways.
Mm-hmm.
You might as well do it.
Yeah.
You might as well.
Yeah, you're so right. Warn everybody straight up. Like,
yeah.
But you so it never
have
gets
her sign
talked about.
A prenup.
Yeah.
Sign a prenup, people. I'm not giving you legal advice, but please sign a prenup.
Yep. 100% agree. Like, you're so right, though. You're spot on. Like, it never gets mentioned. That other side of the fairy tale never gets mentioned. And we should just say fairy tales are pretty bloody grim anyway. So
we're going to be covering that too.
Why not just, like, you're talking about Cinderella, the sisters bloody chopped their feet off to try and fit in the slipper. So bloody hell, they're all gruesome. So yeah, why not add the gruesome one of divorce as well?
Yeah. The realistic one for these times.
Yeah. If anybody's an animator or a cartoonist out there, think about it. Because it's reality. It's reality, you know, and it's an observable reality. Like, all the paperwork and all the BS that goes along with all this crap, none of that is actually real. But what people go through and all of those things, like, that's an observable reality. Like, people feel what they feel when they're going through these things.
How do we trademark that cartoon idea we just did? Because
well, I think it's a goodie. I think it's a goodie
too. So I'm putting it here now. It's January 14th, 2022 at 4:18 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Trademarked. Patented.
It's hereby patented.
Our idea.
It's hereby patented by Les and Stevie and Dissent Into The Wormhole.
Done. All right.
Love it.
Forward we go.
Well, it's like the Berenstain Bears or the Berenstain Bears, if whatever the hell they are. But things don't work out, you know.
Yeah.
Even the Brady Bunch. I was just thinking the Brady Bunch, like that was about two families who joined together, but that was all happy stuff. Like,
wasn't it? Weren't they? They both had spouses that passed away, though, right? Like, they couldn't mention divorce in the when that was made, right?
True,
I don't remember.
true.
I don't remember how they got together. I think it must have been death.
I think you're right. I think there must have been death. Yeah.
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 Because they wouldn't have divorce because it just wasn't something that you did.
No, you're right. And to be honest, like, imagine the darker side of the Brady Bunch, because that shit. And people aren't just walking around all happy all day, and you know, no. But maybe that's another one. Maybe that's another one we can trademark right here on on the channel.
Yeah. It's it really is. It's one of those things where I just scratch my head and I think, how does the government have any right to get their fingers into my life and say, you can't be unattached from this person until I say so? It's like, you narcissistic fuck, just let me out.
Yes.
Let me out. Who the hell are you? Where were you to give me permission to get in it? Right. And now you won't let me out, you fucker. Like, I just want to escape. It's so long. I just want out.
Yep. Just want out. And look, the government's involvement in all of these things is absolutely ridiculous, because they know nothing about your actual life, about your actual relationships, about your actual mental health. They know nothing, nor do they care. Nor do they care. They just have to grab their fee and put their stamp of approval on it. Like, on what grounds can they really disapprove of a divorce? How can they do that? How can they say no?
I don't know. So that's the thing. It's like, you got to wait for it to be approved. It's like, well, it's like, is there a chance that it won't be approved? This is a problem.
Right. How the fuck can you say no? Like, what are you doing? How can you say no? So if the answer is inevitably going to be yes, why all the rigmarole? Just say yes, done. You filled out the paperwork.
Why the wait?
You signed it. Yeah. You filled out the paperwork. You signed it. Done. You're out. You're finished.
Yeah.
It's over.
I can only imagine. Okay, so here's the thing. So you know how you have those people in relationships where one side or both sides are saying, "Well, we're breaking up. We're breaking up right now," and then they break up for 2 days and then they're back
Oh,
together.
yeah. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's one of those. Like I wonder if it's to stop those from happening.
But I'm going to say this as devil's advocate. Why? Why stop it?
Exactly. Let it happen.
That's up to those people. It's their
Exactly.
responsibility.
They're in the relationship, but that was the first thing I thought. Like, I just wonder if that's what it was, to stop people from in and out, and just that, the relationship, their full-time job is in and out of the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was too much paperwork. I don't know. But I feel a year is a very, very excessive.
Yeah.
And I feel needing to have a lawyer is very, very excessive. And I feel having the lawyers take the reins of your life is unnecessary.
Yep.
Very, very unnecessary, because we're not like, I know I can't speak for you. I know I was not in the best emotional space. And I just went with things because I just wanted out. I wanted it to be as far away from him as possible. And I just did whatever it took. And I just feel like sometimes I think back, I'm like, I wonder how badly my lawyer screwed me over.
Yeah.
Because I know I got screwed. I know I did. Like I was, you know how they say, well, I even said it, the courts are in the women's favor. Not on my day.
But you also said they're in the money's favor. Like we said that as well.
They were in the money favor.
Yeah. And, I'm sorry that you went through that. But my experience was similar different to yours, but similar in a way that I just wanted it over. I just wanted it out and I just wanted to be done. And I was very much in that mindset of like, I sort of termed it as laying down on the sword. Like I'll just lay down on the sword and just do whatever. I don't care. Do whatever as long as it is over and finished. But I do feel like and I may have been screwed, but I do feel like the lawyers that I had were actually one of the good ones. Like they genuinely did things that had my best interest at heart, and they did things that where they could have separated out certain documents and charged me separately for each one. They combined it into one, so there was no extra cost. And so things like that, like I feel like that was pretty good. But yeah, I was very much in that mindset where I almost signed everything away and just went, do what you will with me, which would have probably potentially ruined me for a very long time. But you're right. People are in that mindset, of just let's get out, let's get it done. We just want to be away. That they almost, don't do what's best for them. But you don't get that guidance a lot of the time from lawyers. It's like, ooh, we've got a vulnerable person here. What can we do? What can we do? How can we squeeze some cash out of this?
Yeah. And then, for me, I was the one, like, I needed out. And for some reason, he just kept dragging things on. He never did his paperwork. Like I feel like for a lot of it, and not all of them, because a lot of couples do decide, you know what, like this isn't working and we're going to do it as lovingly as possible. We're not going to hold each other hostage, but people do hold people hostages in marriages, and they will hold you hostage in the divorce process for as long as possible to keep you, to kind of unravel you. So not only do you have, like the spouse trying to hang on to it, but the lawyer's also encouraging that, because the longer you hang on, the more money they make.
Yep.
So you could be getting screwed from all different directions, and all you want to do is go live your life. That's all you want to do quietly. That's all you want to do.
Yeah.
I just want to go away and.
Yeah, I just want to go away and exist. I want to go away and try to be happy somewhere, and not have to have all these strangers involved in my personal business and be away from that person who caused. And look, I wouldn't say it caused all the problems, but because I feel like that's absolving responsibility of myself and not taking ownership of my part in it. Because the reality is I could have left at any time, and I didn't. But I didn't, I just didn't have the confidence to do that. But, you want to be away. Once you realize you want to be away, you want to be gone.
Yeah.
And all these other strangers and mofos want to get in your business and say, no, you can't. You got to do this, and you got to jump through these hoops, and you've got to pay this much, and da. And so, you know, by the end of it, it's almost just like, oh my gosh, what could be next? You know, what could be next?
Yeah. And I think that's a loaded question that you don't want the answer to. What could be next?
Right. Yeah. Right. But, you know, that final separation and final official divorce and everything, it's important for that, unfortunately. Like, and that's why you want it so bad a lot of the time, because it is that final legal separation, and it's like, at least that's done, you know? At least that's done. And you can move on with that part. So.
Yes, it was huge. It was a huge relief for me when I got that. I was like, oh. But your country is odd because it's fun. Like when it's final, it's not final. that was a learning curve, because here, once it's done, like, yeah, you got to wait your year, and yeah, you got to wait for the judge to sign, and blah, 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 and praise everybody. But once it's done, it's done. Like, once you have that certificate saying it's done, there's no more.
Yeah.
Yours is like the never ending story.
It really is. And without the big, cute, fluffy dog as well. Like,
fuck you. I was just thinking about him. He went flying through my head.
Falcor. I remembered his name this time.
Falcor.
But yeah, you're right. Like, it's just ridiculous. So you got to wait the year before you can even file, before you can even apply. And then after that, it's like you got to wait a few months for it to actually be seen or heard by a registrar or a judge or whoever the hell it is. Some D-bag has to look at it. And then once that has been ordered, it's another month before it's actually processed and you get that final certificate or whatever the hell it is to say, yeah, now it's finished. Like, it is just insane. It is insane.
That's what I don't understand. The steps and the processes that they've created for themselves, and they say, well, legally. Well,
yeah, yes, exactly.
Don't give me that. Like, I'm actually sick and tired of hearing that word, because legally, you're the ones that made that up. And legally, I don't even know if that's true. Yeah. We made up these laws. Why did we make up laws that make things so difficult? Like, what was the motive when they said, ha ha ha, we're going to screw these people. We're going to screw these people good. Like, what was, I don't understand. Did they have like a job for someone to do one day? And they're like, you know what, Sally, you can do this. This is your job now. We're going to make it, we're going to have this as the legal process that it has to go through 500 people before someone can get divorced in Australia.
Yeah. Yep. And then after it worked so well with Sally, they went, well, Susie and Mindy, you guys jump in as well. And so now, everybody. It's just like everyone gets their fingers and hands and everything on the pie. And really, little old me just wants to be divorced. That's it. Like,
that's all.
I just want out. And all of these people are involved, and there's like, you know, there's lawyers and there's clerks and there's this person and that person, and everybody handles this thing that is a divorce. And it's like, yeah, but it's simple. I said I want it. I want to be out. So just go, tick, done.
He's out.
That's it. He's out.
But here's the thing. When you call the government, for all those people who have all those jobs that have to do all those things just so we can get divorced, when you call the government, they refer you back to a website. They can't give you any information. Yeah. It's like honestly, the government is the most ridiculous system I've ever encountered.
So ridiculous. Yeah.
Because you call them and they're like, oh, if you refer to the website, it's like, I did, and I didn't get my answer. That's why I'm calling.
Exactly.
Like, I'm a rational human being. Of course I went to but a lot of people aren't rational, so they would never go to the website first, so they would call. So it makes sense. But when you get to the point, you're like, yes, I looked at yes, I looked at the website. So here's my question following up to the website. Because they can't answer you. Yeah. And they'll always say, well, I'm not the person. It's like, well, can you put me through to the person?
Yeah.
And they don't have a person.
Yeah.
You have all these systems in place, and all of these things, all of these hoops you got to jump through and whatnot. And it's no one can answer you. It's you need your lawyer. You need a lawyer to navigate anything to do with any kind of legalized relationship, I feel, around the
Yes.
world. You need
Yes.
that lawyer.
Yeah. And just with that, so when you said legalized relationship, like I cringed a little bit because I'm like, again, it's the same thing. Who the hell gets to decide that? And how do they decide that? You know what I mean?
That's what I want to know.
Like, do you invite these people into your bedroom? It's like, yeah, come on in. Like, come on.
We'll show you it's done.
We'll show you how it's done.
You want proof? I'll show you proof. Like, but that's just it. Like, if they want, because I didn't realize, because we were talking about different things that our countries have, and your country actually has a registered, like you can register your relationship.
Yeah.
Like a dating, like not marriage relationship, but you can register it with the country. We don't have that here. I guess we have like a partnership, like a cohabitation, but still this isn't a cohabitation because like you guys could be living in separate homes and still register your relationship.
Yeah.
But how do you prove that? This is the road we went down. We're like, how do we how do we as humans prove to another human how we feel about someone?
Yeah. Yep.
And how do we as humans say yay or nay?
Well,
to that interpretation that person just gave us.
That's right. So many people out there don't understand their own relationships, really, and themselves in those relationships. So how do we prove to somebody? How do we prove it? Like, and I've said this to friends of mine that are, been with people for years, like married for 15 years or something. Yeah. I say, take away your marriage certificate, take away your house and everything in this scenario.
Yeah.
Prove to me that you're in a loving relationship with that person.
Yeah.
Take away all the stuff and the things and the stuff. Now prove it to me. And like, well, what do you want? I don't know. Like, what do you want me to do?
Exactly.
And I go, exactly. How do you do that? Like, the feelings are there, but how do you get that across to somebody? And what gives them the appropriate training, level of knowledge, and all such things to decide on whether a relationship is valid or not valid? Because you're talking about this, the whole divorce machine and marriage and everything, so many freaking relationships get entered into officially through a marriage that are shit. And people don't like them and they get out of them. Yeah. Yeah. So we see that with the divorce rates. Yeah. So why does a marriage certificate make a relationship any more valid than someone saying, hey, I'm in a loving relationship?
Yeah. This is my person.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't understand. I'm very confused. I'm so confused. I am baffled at how the government can get, they push the relationship on you from day one. Because you got to get married and have kids and get the house and get the things to give us money.
Yeah.
But they're very judgy when it comes to out. And like, I just don't know. I think we need to relook at how the government deals with interpersonal relationships.
I agree.
Of any kind.
I agree.
Of any kind.
I agree. And I feel what would be best is if they just fucked off and left everybody alone. Yeah.
Well, because then the gay rights wouldn't have to have been
a thing
because they would have just it wouldn't have been an issue.
No issue. They could just
marry whoever you be with whoever you want.
Yes.
Get married, get divorced. It doesn't matter. Go be with whoever the hell you want. As long as you are happy in that moment, go for it.
Exactly.
Go for it. But no, they got to put limits on people and and it's fear. It's all fear-based. When it comes to gay rights issues, it's fear-based for a lot of people. I don't understand why, because it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with this person asking for just simple human rights to be handed over to them.
The very fact that we rely on other people to tell us what our human rights are is a huge issue, a massive issue. Two people love each other. They should be able to get married. They should be able to not get married. They should be able to just live and be in a relationship, be happy, do whatever they want to do.
Yeah. Who are we to judge that?
Exactly. We're nobody. We don't get to judge that for other people, because everybody's experience is individual as well. Every relationship is individual. I don't, no two are the same, I feel. So I feel like my closing statement here would be, government, fuck off. Like, just
Love it.
Get out of people's lives. Leave people alone. Stop trying to make money off really pain and suffering of people.
Well, that's just it. Because a divorce, whether you're the one asking for it, because I've had a lot of people get mad at me when I say like getting divorced was the best thing that ever happened to me, because getting divorced was the worst thing to happen to them. It's all about how, like, your perspective of it. And I understand a lot of people's divorces it crumbled them, it crushed them.
Right.
And my heart goes out to you.
Yes.
It does. Like, it's not cool. It's absolutely not cool. But the fact that there are jackals out there waiting to take advantage of those people, and me too, like, even though like I wasn't crushed, like I just wanted out, like my experience was completely different, but they're just waiting to pounce, and they're looking for the most vulnerable. We need to do better. We need to do better with helping each other navigate relationships. I really, really feel we do.
Yeah. Because
we're left to our own devices and we have no clue how to do them.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
we're lost.
You're right. You're so right. And I guess aside from my, screw the government comment, I would also say, like, we should be, and you nailed it, on a human level, we should be helping each other. And not telling people what to do or each other what to do, but giving some guidance, giving some different thoughts on things, and giving people another avenue to go down and letting them know that it's okay. Like, just because you've been engaged to Joe Blow for 3 years and that's what you meant to do and blah, 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 doesn't mean you have to. You don't have to do shit. Like, if you don't feel good about it, you don't have to do it.
That's right.
You don't have to do it. There is a door number 3. You can walk through it and live a very happy life.
Yeah. Yeah. It may not feel good, go through door number 3, but you can do it.
Yeah. But the other side feels good.
Does it ever? Oh.
Yeah.
So that was a really great discussion. I don't know how long we went for. It felt like 10 minutes.
It did. It felt like 10 minutes, but I feel like it's around about an hour. So
wow. Okay.
Really good chat. And thank you again. So much fun. And I hope everybody else enjoyed it as well, as much as we did. And
let us know what you think.
Yeah. We'll see you all next time.